Welcome to Wild West Garage. My name's Morgan, and that is my 1957 Chevy. And I think it's been about 2 years since I had this car on the channel last. And so when I got the car running after about 15 years, I realized that the whole time I'd been driving this car prior to that, I never had the 4-barrel working on it. So the last time I drove it, I messed around with it a bit, and I got the 4-barrel to open up. There's a bit of a linkage problem, and I can show you that in a minute here. But a couple of times the throttle hung open on me, and I didn't get too excited about it, but I took my wife for a drive this morning, and it hung open on me pretty bad, and so I figured I better fix that, because she doesn't want to drive with me in the car until I can assure her that it's fixed. So I think that's pretty reasonable. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. Okay, here's the problem I had with the throttle not opening fully. Is the throttle lever here? It's hitting this kickdown bracket, and so the last time I was driving it, I bent this ahead a little bit here, so that the linkage or the lever could move forward, and then I adjusted this back, and then ultimately that gave me more travel, and I was able to get the secondaries to open up about halfway. So I'm gonna have to do some more work on this so I can get this to lay down a bit more, because I want to get full throttle, right? You want full power for, getting up those big hills. There's a lot of hills in this area. AJ. Anyways, so aside from that, I mean, the car's running great, and it performs quite well even with half throttle on the secondaries. But the big issue is these throttle valves hanging up, and I'll show you that. See if you push this back. See how it just stays there? If any of these screws are a little bit loose, which sometimes happens, the gasket between the float bowl section, the middle section of the carburetor, and the base plate, the gasket got sucked into and it's interfering with the valves on the secondaries. So I may be able to repair this, but ultimately I think I'm going to have to put a kit in it. But anyways, let's get it off of there and see if we can fix it up. Okay, there we go. Okay, I got the carburetor sitting here upside down on the bench, and hopefully I can show you what's going on here. You can see it right there. Let's get this cranked right open. You see how the gasket has moved inside the bore? So that is holding the throttle open. I don't think I've ever encountered that in my life. There's another one on this side, see? So not only is that holding the throttle open, it's impeding performance when you want it. It's restricting the flow of fuel and air. Anyways, let's get this thing apart, see what's going on. All right, so I'm going to try and take the bottom off only and see if I can fix this thing and put it back on the car. Oh yeah, those screws are loose. So there's your problem, right? Because the screws are loose, look at that. I got almost half a turn on that one. And so I bought this carburetor with the heads and an intake manifold for that car probably 40 years ago. This carburetor still works really well despite the fact that the screws are loose. So hopefully I have a gasket for this, because I really don't want to kit it. It doesn't need a kit, it's running really well. I think there's some screws in from the top as well. Yeah. These two back ones here. I'm gonna have to punch out this accelerator pump linkage here. So I don't know what happened to that punch I had, but I made myself a new one out of a nail. So this is your accelerator pump linkage right here, and you need to drive this out, but you don't want to go too far because it makes it hard to get. So you want to leave a little space between the pin and the choke housing here, otherwise it'll be hard to get it back in. You just need to push it out far enough to, this punch is actually a little big. I'm going to grind it some more. So you just need to punch it out far enough to release this rocker arm here. And then you can have enough space to get a screwdriver here to push it back in. There we go. Yeah, so the other end of this is captured in the throttle linkage. So what else needs to come off to get this plate off? I don't think anything else does. No, there's no other linkage connected to the base plate. It's interesting. There's supposed to be two dowels here to hold that gasket, and they're missing. See that? There's a hole there and a hole there, and there's a sort of a corresponding kind of a divot here to keep that from sucking in, and it doesn't have it. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to salvage this. So you can see where the throttle was hanging up on that, right there. See that? Right there. Maybe on the other side too. Not so much. So yeah, there we go. So I got to find a gasket, and then I got to I'm wondering if I should drill that out and do something about that. So that obviously would have been a bit of a vacuum leak as well, which wouldn't help my idle. So this thing might just run a whole lot better even once I get that fixed. Okay, there's the gasket we need. That is the one, I believe. It's got all the same holes. Yep, it's in the right shape. So I'm going to drill. I have to find some kind of material I can tap into there. And I'm going to put those dowels in. Because I don't want that happening again. So you've got corresponding holes here on the base plate. Actually, because this already has the holes, I just need to find something to put in there. I don't have to do any drilling. Right? There we go. So probably a piece of drill bit or something. Look at that. That drops right in there. So I just need to cut a little bit off this drill bit and insert it in these holes. Drops right in that one, but doesn't on the other side. So what do I need? So I'll put this. So this is a remanufactured carburetor. It's got a, I won't say whose tag it has on it. So at some point in the process, for whatever reason, they missed that detail and it caused me a problem. But you know, it's been 40 years, so I can't really complain much. Find something that can make a mark on that. Sharpie. Not a very good Sharpie. There we go. So I need two pieces like that. So here's my two dowels. And of course I don't want, yeah, that's going to be perfect. I don't want them sticking out so far that they limit how much the gasket can get crushed. Oh, but that's perfect right there. So that one doesn't want to stay in. It's loose fitting. This one is a tight fit. Or at least at the beginning it is. So let's see if I can tap this in. And that's not, it's just, it's no longer than the first one. See if I can tap it in there and hold it straight. Going in quite a ways. Yeah, that one's not going to come out. Didn't distort anything. I'm going to make a little punch mark beside this one, maybe in a couple sides, just to move some material into the hole a bit. Maybe three sides. Then I'll go ahead and tap this in. Still loose. Just what you want is a whole bunch of metal shavings in your carburetor. There's metal stuck all over this punch. I have a feeling that the dowel was cast into the body of this carburetor, and it looks like they're broken off. I could be wrong though. I haven't opened one of these in a long time. Okay, now we've got interference bit here. There we go. Still loose. I'll just stake it in there now. I mean, it can't fall out once the carburetor is assembled, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so put it back together, and hopefully I didn't disturb all the sediment in that carburetor by flipping it upside down, which is sometimes a thing. But if that's the case, I'll have to take it right apart. I think this, unless I muck this carburetor up by flipping it over, I think this is going to be an all-around better deal for me. I have a hard time believing that wasn't a vacuum leak. So just get these seated. I'll flip it over and put the other screws in from the bottom. It's kind of interesting. All but these 3 screws are flathead slotted screws. And these are Phillips. Now there's probably a torque spec for these. And that's probably why they were loose, because they weren't torqued properly. And I'm not going to torque them properly either. I'm just going to torque them according to just how I feel. Torque to speculation. Pretty hard to get them too tight, I think. You know. What do you think? That's tight enough? I think so. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let's see if we got throttle stick still. Not even, of course not. You know, let's fix that problem. Now I just have to fix my linkage problem so I can get full squirt on this thing. I think that was there. It must have been there. There's 2 holes in this accelerator pump linkage. So you get your screwdriver in there and start prying. Actually, another thing you can do is just put your punch in there, get it lined up. Right? See like that? and then it'll just follow it through. Pry it back in with the screwdriver. There we go. I'm having a bit of a just a bit of a stumble. The car, like if I'm just cruising and I hit the throttle and it just falls on its face just for a second. It just goes boop and then it takes off. Maybe this will fix that. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. I was kind of thinking the accelerator pump wasn't working properly, but it seems to, it squirts, so maybe it's a bit weak. I don't know. And also I'm running off of ported vacuum for the Advance, and I think I'm going to have to stick with that because I got such a lumpy cam in this car. If I put on manifold vacuum, the Advance is going to be jumping all over the place, and that's going to cause a rough idle too, right? Or I'm going to have a hard time getting idle set. It's got a rough idle anyways, but I think it'll make it worse if I put it on manifold versus ported, because you don't have a steady vacuum and it's moves the timing around so much. So let's go put this back on. It looks like the throttle plate was hitting the base gasket too, so I'm going to take that off and trim it back. There, you can see that right there. It's hitting right there. I thought I saw it hitting in two different spots when I was looking down the carburetor. Yeah, it's actually peeled off a little piece here, see? Shaving that off. Gasket porting. Kind of looks like the primaries were hitting the gasket too. Right there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's protruding into the bore. So I'm going to have to do some extensive filing on this thing. This gasket's a restrictor plate, somewhat. Okay, I got my base gasket all ported out. Should see some significant performance gains by doing that. You know, it's really gonna increase the CFM going through this carburetor. I'm not kidding. I might gain half a horsepower, but I'm not going to stack it into the back of somebody's car when the throttle locks up, because it's not going to lock up anymore. You can probably tell by looking at this car under the hood, this was a pretty car at one point, one time in its life. Had it. I've owned this car since I was 16 years old. I'm 59 now. So what's that? 43 years I've owned this car. I think the last time I did any major restoration type work on it, I first drove it, I think it took me till I was 21 to get it all back together on the road. Or was it not? No, maybe I was 19. I was 19, that's right. I was 19, I got it all together, running. think now. No, that's not true. I don't think that's true. Yeah, it must be true. Yeah, I think I drove it for the first time when I was 19. And then I tore it all apart again when I was 21, I think. And I tore it off, pulled it off the frame, sandblasted the frame, and yeah. Painted had the inner fenders ready stripped. I think I had the Rad Sport ready stripped and all the fenders, front clip. So I repainted all that stuff. Put it all back together. Looks pretty good. Put this 350 in it. I had a 283 in it prior to that, the original engine. Yeah, so the 350, the turbo 350 all went in it when I did the frame off. So that was 39 years ago. So it's been a while. And then this car sat for about 15 years and I didn't drive it. And can you see you can see the little lick of a flame there. See the flames on the other side. So it was in the garage, the house I live in now. It was my dad's house. We weren't living there at the time, but I was storing the car there. And he was renovating the kitchen. And he sprayed all his cabinets in the garage right beside this car and oversprayed the whole thing with epoxy white paint. Yeah, so Endura epoxy enamel all over the car. So 2 years ago when I got the car running, I thought, I've always wanted flames on this car, so I just masked off where I wanted the flames and rubbed the paint down around it. I got flames. I mean, I wasn't too upset about it because the car did need a paint job, so I made the mistake of parking this car outside next to a motorhome, and I draped the tarp over the motorhome and then over my car, and it was touching the roof on one spot, and right where the tarp was touching the roof, it bubbled the paint off, and then the whole car had tiny little bubbles all over it. So the paint job was ruined at that point, and that was like 30 years ago. So anyway, that's what happened to the paint job, and of course age doesn't help either. And then I stored it outside. I had it outside a few times, like for months and months. Anyways, I'm a lot better at fixing stuff than I am at looking after it. But I kind of like this car the way it is now. I'm all done. I'm done with the shiny car thing. You got these shiny cars. You got to worry about. You got to worry about them all the time. You got to polish them all the time. So, I'd rather just drive them. Like today, I stood inside the front pan here to look down the carburetor. There's boot prints all over it. I don't really care. Hook up my throttle linkage. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try and bend that bracket out of the way a bit more. Get some more throttle action out of this thing. Okay, here's my problem. That throttle lever is hitting this right about there. So I've got to remove a whole bunch of this. And I also have to move this back because my car shifts out of low gear way too fast. So I'll do all that and I'll put it back together and see what we get. Of course, see, the 57 Chevy wouldn't have had this bracket there to interfere with the linkage, so that's what's going on here. It's a invasive part, so we get it fixed up so it fits properly. Got the carburetor all put back on there. My son just phoned me and informed me that there's a whole gathering of cars in town, and they're going to drive by my place right here on the corner. So I'm going to join up if this thing all goes well. Air cleaner now. Alright, it's a few days later. I'm out in the house garage here with the car where I keep the car, and I'm not sure all what I said there at the end of the last few clips, but the car's running great. Fixing that gasket solved a lot of problems. I had a bit of a stumble when I hit, if I was just cruising along like no throttle and put my foot on the pedal, it would just kind of die for a second. That's gone now. Better performance, and I mentioned in the video that I thought there were different size quadrijet carburetors, and so I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but I just stumbled across some stuff. I was looking at used carburetors online, and I noticed that there were 650s and 750s, so maybe I had a 650 gasket on a 750 carburetor. I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I'm happy with how everything turned out. I got I got more travel out of the throttle. I moved the bracket back for the kickdown cable. That's working beautifully now. You step on the gas and it actually kicks down. It wouldn't do that before. And if you were taking off from a stop, it would shift up way too quickly now. So now it just holds in nice. So anyways, it's all good. So I don't I haven't opened up a quadrant in quite a while now. So those dowel pins, obviously they have to be there. So I don't remember seeing them on any other carburetors, but I'm sure they were there. So it's just a bit strange. I guess, you know, you get into a production type scenario and sometimes things get missed, or a core shows up and for some reason those are missing. It doesn't get it. They don't, you know, catch that when they're putting things together. Whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.